Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello out there. I'm Annette Richmond. This is the Smarter Career and Business Moves LinkedIn Live show and later a podcast. And I'm so excited to have my friend Gillian Whitney. Gillian, oh my gosh, I pronounced your name wrong. Gillian Whitney here with me today to hang out together.
Makes it fun. Makes it fun.
I know, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Jillian, for people, anyone who does not know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, I'm a fun gal. I'm a person who wants to have fun. So that's why I'm here today. So I'm Gillian Whitney. I am a LinkedIn video marketing coach. And my goal in life is to make video on LinkedIn easy peasy. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and you're one of those people that the brand is so strong. Whenever I hear anybody say easy peasy, it's like Jillian, Jillian. So that's excellent branding. So, you know, now today, kind of everybody can have live. If you have creator mode on, you can get live. They have live on your company pages. If you have, I think it's only 150 people following your company page, you can do live on there. But when we started, it was different.
Oh
Um,
man. Hoops you had to jump through.
so talk a little. I mean, for me, it's been almost 2 years, 2 years in March, and for you, it's been longer. So talk a little bit about your experience when you were first, wanted to go live.
Okay, well, and first, I must just let everybody know it is a myth that you have to have creator mode to go live. Anybody can go live. It's easier if you have creator mode, but it's not a requirement. So, but you do have to have 150 followers and you must be in good standing with LinkedIn. So that's a criteria. But anyways, so yeah, so that's kind of one of those myths everybody just keeps talking about, and it's actually not true. So that's kind of nice to know. But it makes sense to have a decent sized network when you go live. It really does, because otherwise you're going live to like an empty stadium, so to speak. So I think more than I actually would say, aim for 500 before you start going live. That would just be me. But anyways, I digress. I have been going live for 2.5 years now. And it was like Willy Wonka and, getting to like the chocolate factory. You had to have the magic ticket. And it was like, you had to apply. You had to, list your credibility of why hello, LinkedIn. I'm a video superstar. And you actually had to have some sort of experience either doing video or doing live somewhere else. And I actually had done live on Facebook. Don't tell anybody, but that's actually where I started going live, was to Facebook. And of course, I was doing video on LinkedIn. So between the two of those, that's how I got sort of early access. And I was like one of those like deer in the headlights. I just went live that first day and I hit the live button and I said, okay, this is what we're going to talk about, and hopped on, called a friend. I brought my friend and I said, come live with me. I don't want to do this by myself. And it was like, nobody was there. It was just like nobody was there. But you know what? You show up anyways. You just keep showing up. And it was just like the next week, it was like, I think I got one like, and I just kept going. But I set the intention every Tuesday I would do this. And I didn't even live in this country. And that's the important thing. Pick a time that if you end up moving halfway across the world, it'll still work. So I was going live at 8 o'clock at night in Israel, which is now 10 a.m. in, where am I now? Las Vegas. So it's a journey and a half, but it's fun. It's fun. It's a great thing.
So I remember that too. And at that time, you would hear people talking about, oh, they can't go live, they can't go live. And I had submitted an application like once, I don't know, maybe in like 2019 or something like that. And of course, I didn't get it. And when I decided that I wanted to do it in 2021, I was really strategic about it. I started posting videos on LinkedIn. And I actually got invited. I was on a LinkedIn Live show. So I had that done. And that was with Mark Anthony Dyson. Being a guest on his show was my very first LinkedIn Live. And of course, I was nervous and scared about that. And the same thing with me, though. So then when I did apply, in early 2021. I was approved, and just like you, I invited a friend on to come on the show with me, and we kind of, foraged into that area together. And it's so much fun, and we can talk about the bestie parts of it later on. But I want to talk a little bit about choosing your guests. So we talked a little bit about this before we went on live. So I think we kind of have a similar philosophy on that. But tell me yours, and then I'll tell you mine.
Okay. Well, I always like to, first of all, I liked, yeah, I think you have to figure out who is your audience. Who is the audience that you want to attract, and what is your goal with your live? So when I first started going live, my goal was simply brand awareness. I was growing my network. I didn't really have a particular thing like, oh, I'm trying to sell this. It was just like, I just wanted people to get to know, like, and trust me. So it was strictly about brand awareness. And I would say that my show is targeted now. It's, morphed over the years. And I have a theme of LinkedIn easy peasy. So if you do Facebook ads, you're not a good fit for my show. You're not a good fit for my audience. And it doesn't mean that I would personally have anything against you. It's just that you don't really work within that circle. So I think when I look at a guest, I always think, is it someone that would connect with my audience and add value to my network and add value to me? Because I want to learn as well. So I think that's very important. And then the second thing is, I don't have any kind of like, oh, you must have already done a LinkedIn live. Actually, many, many people on my show did a LinkedIn live for the very, very first time. So that's not a huge issue. It's not a huge issue for me, whether you have a big network or a small network. Probably what is an issue is I either want to already have met you and know you. So, it's always virtually, of course, or at least be aware of your on camera presence. Because it would be I have to make sure that we're going to click in a conversation. Because if it ends up that I'm like pulling teeth to get you to talk, that could be huge. Plus, also, too, I seek a guest that will want to respond to my audience, because that to me is a very important part of when I go live, is involving the audience and responding to the audience. So I wouldn't want somebody who would be like, "Ugh, let the peons carry on." I don't want people like that.
Yeah, I hear that about evolving. And when I started this show and the podcast that goes along with this, it was the Smarter Career Moves, because it was all about career. And as I've evolved, my business has evolved, and also my guests, because I look for people that are going to be interesting. And I had more and more people coming on talking about, LinkedIn for business and becoming a better speaker and things like that. And so I switched it earlier this year. I shifted it to Smarter Career and Business Moves. But I
Mhm.
hear you, I do want to kind of focus on that. I mean, I'm not seeking out someone to come on and talk about, yoga or something like that, because it's not really going to be a fit for that. And I hear you about, I don't care either about how many followers you have. I've had people with really small followings. I don't care. I don't have a huge following myself. And so I'm cool with that. But I do like to check them out if I'm not chatting with them, to go and see if they're on a webinar or something like that. So speaking of people in the audience, so we have to say hello to Michelle Freilich. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, our friend John
Oh,
Esperian, um, you know, Team Espresso. We're both part of Team Espresso. And so,
love John.
thank you. Thank you so much for joining us as well. Uh, so here's a big thing too. Questions for your guests or not questions? And I went back and forth. No, yes, no. So what do you think about that?
Okay, so I'm a no. I like it to be a casual chat, and I let people know that from the get-go because that could be a deal breaker for them. So, I get that right up front when we're talking about what, we kinda, like, zero in on a theme so that I can have a title and I know what our live is gonna be about, and then so we know what the topic is, and we go with that agreement. But I always tell people, "This is a casual chat. I don't want you to come on and do, like, a PowerPoint presentation. I don't wanna sit and interview you, and I'm gonna ask you about, what was your, I don't know. I can't even think of
Or
something.
something,
So
right?
so no, I don't like to have set questions because that would make me nervous. I like it to just be a casual chat. But here is what I would always tell people. Have the topic in your head. If you're thinking about going live one day, have the topic in your head and have some talking points, because if for any reason your guest doesn't show up or comes late, how could you carry the conversation? So kind of be like a Boy Scout, always be prepared. So I always have something standing at the ready that would be questions I could ask and answer myself.
Well, that is a great idea because I have actually canceled my show just a couple of times, not often, because my guest canceled on me at the last minute. And although this is not for us today because we're just kind of hanging here, but I always have. I did a show last night with a panel, and I always have a couple of pages. And it's also I do that because sometimes you do get people and their answers are very short. Some people are really
Mm,
talkers, and some
mm.
people will just give you, a few words and, share some insight. And then it's like, okay, what comes next? But I am with you. I am a no on questions, and also for the same reason. And I was actually quite stunned because I was no questions. And then of course, you hear people talk, say, oh, you should have questions, makes people feel more comfortable. Um, and I had someone who I've actually known personally for many years, um, a coach who was on, and we're, as I'm talking and I'm going through the questions I did have for them, I see them like this. Well, and then
Oh,
and I was like, oh my goodness, because I know this person, I know they know their stuff cold. They've been doing it forever,
it was the
and
anxiety. It was
it
the
was just
anxiety.
yeah, it was really and it was really awkward and uncomfortable. I think for everyone to have someone reading like that. And when you're talking about like no questions in advance, and I let people know that too. It's just we're gonna have some talking points. Um, do you get a resistance to being live? And the reason for that is because my show feeds into my podcast. I believe your show feeds into your
Yep.
podcast as well. And I have people, I'm sure you do, contacting me and say, oh, Gillian Whitney, she would be great for your podcast. And when I email them back and I say, okay, that would be great. Let's hear about her. But it's going to be a live show. And that goes into the podcast, and I never hear from them again.
It's like, deer in the headlights, deer in the headlights. Well, I've actually never had a stranger kind of come and approach me. So maybe my show's
It'll
not
come.
popular. I don't know, but it's mine is Jillian Whitney and friends. So everyone who comes on my show, I usually have already gotten to know. Maybe I've had one or two strangers, but I think pretty much everybody I've gotten to know. And I know that with the people, well, first of all, I try to be a good host in terms of I never make the assumption that somebody knows how to go live. So when somebody approaches me to go on my show, I tell them that, of course, it's going to be live. I tell people I don't like to pre-record because a lot of people will ask me that. Are we going to pre-record and then you'll stream it live? And I go, no, I don't like pre-recording. Too many things go long. It loses something. There's an energy to live that, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I just think that's the energy that makes people want to join a live in the first place. But when I remember once I had somebody come on my show and they were very uptight about going live because they'd never gone live before. They'd done lots of virtual events on Zoom and webinars, but they'd never gone live before. And I thought to myself, oh, I need to make it easy peasy for people. So I actually took that person on a tour behind the scenes so they could see StreamYard and, just understand the guest experience. And then I just thought to myself, I need to kind of make this easier. So I actually created a video that I send people, because I'm the video person, that says, when you go live with me, here's what to expect. And I go live with a little stuffed tiger. And I go, you're the tiger, and here's me. And I walk them through the whole back side of what it looks like in StreamYard. And people love it because they love being the tiger. And it gives them warm fuzzies and they know what to expect. And that's the thing, is being fun, which is our topic today, being fun and being a good host, being a good guest. It's about making people feel comfortable. So if you've never been live, of course you're going to feel uncomfortable. I always have like a little stuffed animal. I have this
Little
like a little
StreamYard dog.
StreamYard duck. I have the StreamYard duck. He makes me feel comfortable. So, those are little things, but I I think it's important to make your guests feel welcome and at home.
Oh, I do as well. And, I really enjoy it too. And I think because we had talked a little bit about the idea of having fun. And my guests mostly all tell me that they have fun, they're eager to come back, and I'm sure yours do as well. And I've also um, had guests that will say to me at the end, well, it was really all about me. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Of course. I'm not inviting you on here to talk about me. But although I have had that experience where I was invited on somebody's podcast and they were like, well, and I think this and that and blah, 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 blah. And what do you think? Oh, okay. And back to me. And and um so I guess you're with me, the idea of just making it all about the guest. So do you do any research, a little bit of research about your guests before they come on, or
Absolutely, because I write up a post. So that's another thing I do. I know a lot of people will make their guests fill out a questionnaire so that they can write up their own post. I don't do that. I like to do it myself. One, I'm just, I don't know, I'm OCD. I have to totally be in control of everything. That's just a part of my world. But I like to write up a post introducing my guest, introducing the topic. And I do that selfishly because combing through somebody's profile really allows you to get to know them. Sometimes I'll go off and I'll look at their website, I'll check their featured section. I'll make sure that I'm really acquainted with my guest, and that's where I might find something that's really interesting. Like we just flashed the comment of John. Well, John is like, he's not a douche canoe. So if John was like my guest, and John's been my guest several times, that's a really great talking point. And when I had John on last month, one of the things I said is, douche canoes need not attend. I put that in the post. It was fun. So I think by learning about your guest and learning about the topic, you can come to the conversation and be a participant, not just a listener.
yeah. I mean, I do that too. I go on their LinkedIn profile, and it's often interesting to see where they came from in their career
Mm.
and what led you to jump from this to this. And I always ask them too, what do you like best about what you do? And
Ooh, great
and that's
question.
often really really interesting. And sometimes it's not what you think. Often if it's someone like us, it's like, oh, when my clients get the aha moment or something. But
Yeah.
it's really really interesting to me. And so just to give some sort of practical advice to anyone who is watching this now or on the replay, Um, and I know what has saved me, I would say time on my part, and I think help to make my guests feel more comfortable is inviting them to choose not only the date, but also the topic. And you
Mm.
do that too, right?
Yep, yep. As long as it fits within the framework of what the show's about. So, like I said before, like you said, a yoga instructor coming on and teaching us yoga, unless it's like we can do yoga and update our profile at the same time type of thing. But it's just that know what the parameters, the boundaries of your show is, and if it fits within that show, then yes, I want them to talk about something that has to do with them, that lights them up, that they're passionate about. I don't say to people, you have to come on and talk about video because I'm a video person. That would be boring. How could we talk? I have a lot of people that come on and talk about video because they're video nuts too. So it's energy for energy. But I agree with you. Let them choose the topic because that passion will come out. And that's what you want. You want that passion and that interaction.
Yeah, so here's Laura who says, it's a fun conversation when douche canoes are mentioned. And I love that phrase. I have John's book too. And I love that. I love that phrase. And it is something that that makes you think. And that's one of those things too. Whenever I hear that, I don't hear that word a lot, but when I do, of course, I immediately think of John and his book. So there you go.
Good branding.
And I know. So, and what about being like a fun guest? I hope
Oh,
that I'm a fun guest. I try to be prepared to, when I give you a topic, I try to be prepared to speak about it. But what's some advice for people? Because it is tough. Occasionally you do get someone and they're a lovely person and very knowledgeable, but it can become like you kind of pulling teeth, which I think is a strain for them, as well as for me.
exactly. I would say a couple of things. Number one, think of improv. So when you have a question, don't say yes, but in your head, you want yes, and. So when you come on as a guest, always make sure that you're coming and you're going to not just answer the question, but add a little bit. Maybe you're going to turn it back. You're really good at that, Annette, where you'll say, what about you? What's your goals for this year? Like you've come on my show and you turn the question back to me. So it's just like, who's driving this live? The both of us. We're kind of co-pilots, pilot and co-pilots. And I think that's the mentality that it's like, ask something back. Another thing to prepare is don't memorize speaking points, but instead think about, do I have some stories, personal stories? Be open. You don't want to go on a live and be very closed. You want to be open in terms of, is there a story that might illustrate your point, a personal experience, maybe something that you've seen? And these are your stories. Like I always tell people, don't be telling the starfish story because we're all bored with that one. We've heard it over and over again. Little things like another thing you do, Annette, which is great when you come on my show, is sometimes you lean in. That makes a connection. So our body language, our eye contact, we talked about, don't come on and like be looking at your phone. Even if you want to look at the comments, ignore the comments. Those are the little things that you can do to prepare, and make sure that you kind of think about, why is this an important topic to you? What's your motivation? Why do you want to be talking about this in the first place? So these are really good things. And then the last thing is, don't be a douche canoe and sell from the stage. Like, never do that to your host. Don't show up and say, I'd like to pitch my $10,000,
Oh, I know.
thing, and, act now, and we'll throw in a pair of scissors. So don't be that guy. Don't be
Oh,
that guy
I know.
or gal.
I actually had one guest only do that to me, and this was before I put in the the sort of the cautionary, please don't do this in all of my back and forth engagement with my guests, and was like, oh, can we go to my website? And I was like, and luckily, I guess for me at the time, I didn't know how to share my screen on StreamYard. So I was kind of like, well,
Stick with that.
I really, really wish we could, but I just don't quite know how to do it. So, but that is tough. And it's so funny because I don't even realize I'm doing that. Now that you mentioned it to me, I'm gonna think about it. The idea that I lean in, it's because I'm really interested. I'm
Yes.
always interested in what my guest has to say, and I'm interested if I'm on somebody's show. I'm interested to learn more about them as well. So I do want to say one thing that has been tough for me, and it's even more tough when someone like you, who I'm friends with, is on my show, and that's not looking at you,
Mm,
looking at the
yes.
camera. And
Yes.
so I, like you, because I learned it from you, have the little smiley right underneath
Right.
my camera, so I know that I should be looking at that. Um, but it's tough. It's tough to do that. What tips do you have? Because while right now I'm not looking at you, it to the audience it looks like I am, and so it's kind of a weird thing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's really learning to work with your peripheral vision. So, make your screen as big as possible. That's always
Mhm.
gonna help. So, don't keep your StreamYard window in a small little window and then you got notes behind it. Skip the notes, dump the notes. I don't ever have notes. I put this full screen. I've only got a laptop, so I don't even have a big computer. And again, you've got to have invite Lenny to the live. Lenny has to come. Lenny is my post-it note. And
Yep.
I laugh and say Lenny has many brothers and sisters and cousins because he's always like blowing off and disappearing. But always put something or know where to look. Make a mental note. Oh, I've got to look above business. That will be that's where I want to look on this live. So that's having that consciousness. And then another thing too, Annette, is try to mirror what you look like with the person that you're doing the live with. So it's like I wouldn't want to be really, really far away.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to be on a phone, this version, vertical. My brain forgot what vertical was for a second. So those are kind of the things. It's like, think about what should I wear? I always wear black. You know why? Because you're just never gonna conflict with the host. So and don't be wearing stripes. They do weird things. Only tigers. If you're the stuffed tiger, you can wear a stripe. Other than that, don't wear a stripe because you're gonna like hypnotize the host.
I so yeah, and here we are. I do too. So here we are in our matching black tops. Because I do that too. I tend to wear them occasionally if I'm a guest, or sometimes I'll put a little something on, a little necklace or something. But basically, I'm in that basic black. And so I just want to share this. As Laura said, speaking as an actress, it's a learned skill, but amazing how strong the imagination is once you put it to work. So thank you for that. So I cannot believe this. We are like just about we're out of time because it went by so fast. But what's like a final thought that you have for anyone who wants to go live or be a guest on a live show?
I would just
Golden
have to
nugget.
say, recognize you don't have to be an extrovert. You don't have to be funny to be fun. Being fun, a fun person is being a playful person. It's being an open person and it's being able to just show up and be and enjoy the moment, enjoy everything that will happen. If you look at all of this as an adventure, then you can never fail at alive. There's no such thing as an epic fail. It's just epic.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm gonna put a little post-it note of that on my computer here. So I guess my final thing is that people should, as you say, enjoy the moment and not worry so much about how they look, or, the production, because nobody's coming on and watching your live and expecting it to be, a Scorsese production. I mean, they're coming to hear, generally, hear what the guest has to say, what they're going to share. And so, that's kind of my thing. And then go with the flow, right?
Yes.
When stuff happens, I had
Dogs
one time,
bark,
yeah,
garbage trucks show up,
oh my gosh.
kids open a door.
Dogs bark, dogs come, dogs jump on me. It's like, okay, I see
Life,
that on I see
life.
that on TV. So I'm like, okay, if it's okay for them, it's okay for me. So again,
Absolutely.
I thank you so much. I this has just been such a treat to hang out with you for this time today. And
Yay.
what can I say? We'll hang out and chat for a little bit afterwards. So everybody else, have a great rest of your day. Bye.